Hi, everybody. This is Allison from Alley Cat Creations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so. And if you get anything from my work, a connect dot, an epiphany, a mind explosion, a new book to read, a new author to explore, artwork to view, please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of the description. It's one of the best ways to help me out and keep my channel up, but also alisonkatz211.com. I have cool pyramids. This one has a lot of red jasper. I have skulls. You can use them as paperweights or no. Some of us knew where I was going with that. Business card holders. I have artwork, uh, a lot of different types of pyramids. I just don't make one type. All of that is on my website. And if you like anything there, um, you can email me and we can work something out. Um, 3D memberships. 3D memberships is another way to support my channel. It's cost effective. You get free entries into raffles, which Friday the 7th, which I actually just sold one painting to a member. But this painting, this painting will be up for grabs. And this one I just did will be up for grabs for the winner of that raffle. And members get free entries. If you are not a member, that's okay. I know money's tight for a lot of people. You can enter. I have to put that stuff up. See, my brain is, I've had a crazy 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if I count January. So things have been a little crazy. I then got laryngitis and a sinus infection, so that took me out a few days. So entries are $5. You can Venmo, PayPal, Cash App me $5 to enter for the drawing, which will be held on my Friday Night Live on February 7th. That's a Friday, I think. Um, and that's right around the corner. Precious coffee here, keep my voice going. Started slipping a little bit today because I'm probably allergic to my room at work. Trying to be business casual here. So today I'm going to read Jeanette Agne's The Seventh Seal. This is chapter 5, The Fire of the Lord. Now, mind you, this was on the Curtis's website to download. The last two chapters was a little wonky for me. I like the beginning of the book. The third and fourth chapter, not so much. But this, I'm not going to like every book I present, right? Um, but let's see what she has to say because I think it's worth reading. The Fire of Lord. To review in brief some of the facts already mentioned, it is as if the soul, as we ordinarily use the term, is but a partial expression of a soul that in the beginning was a complete embodiment of a masculine and feminine power. But the creative law, when investing this soul with physical form in which to work out its experiences, I like how that's written, gain the mastery over evil which is equivalent to gaining a right conception of the truth in all its phases, and the capacity for unending happiness, gave portions of the soul separate bodies at an early stage in the evolutionary process, endowing both with certain similar capacities and certain complementary ones. Okay, so this chapter is redeeming the other two chapters that were pretty askewed. It's redeemed, kind of not, but this is what I've been saying. This is on the same lines of how I talk, not the same language or verbiage, but this is very much a similar thing I say all the time. The science of zoology supports this opinion in the like development of the physical organism through asexual and hermaphrodite stages toward the separate sexes. In the branch protozoa, we find forms of life that are asexual and reproduce by fission, budding, etc. In the next higher branch, Porifera, something like that. We find in certain varieties of the sponges the appearance of a separate male and female reproductive cells, but combined in one body. Ascending through the various orders of the higher branches, we see the male and female cells becoming more distinct in structure, in some cases, as for instance, the Portuguese man o' war, both predunjucated yet belonging to the one organism, until finally in the still higher branches they appear in separate bodies. I realize the analogy is not complete, as the ascent from the branch of protozoa is more lateral than lineal. That is, the sponge is a completed animal in its branch, having advanced along a path parallel to, we might say, but not necessarily identical with animals of the higher branches, the same being true of the Portuguese man o' war. Nevertheless, these are examples of forms of animals life still existing, which furnish the clue to the evolutionary trend, the general course over which man has ascended to his higher goal. From the particular protoplasmic cell, the quality and nature of which I hold the Creator must have designed to produce a human being. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. If any doubt the judgment of the scientists concerning the mute testimony of the past ages regarding the facts of evolution, then let him listen with reason and honesty to the ceaseless repetition of the record of the development of a human being through lower forms of life and undifferentiated sex by a living witness whose veracity cannot be questioned, the human embryo. But to accept the facts of evolution as true does not necessitate the acceptance of the materialistic theory as to the cause of these facts, as seems to be the general impression. It is erroneous conclusions of physical science, which overlook God as the intelligence back of the evolutionary plan that caused many people who have made no particular effort to inform themselves on the subject to disbelieve actual facts as well as this theory. For most people instinctively feel, and rightly so, that there is something radically wrong with the cheerless doctrine that all life and attainment are the results of the action of mechanical causes upon inert matter. But this mistaken theory, deduced from observations which establish the physical facts, comes from not consulting spiritual as well as material evidence as to the meaning of the facts. It is the combined use of reason and intuition that enables us to draw right conclusions from any given data. The materialistic scientist who disregards the voice of the intuition is no more to blame, however, than the moralist who disregards the voice of reason. Neither is quite honest. For the moralist to declare that he does not want to be convinced of any given fact, lest his faith in God's love and goodness should be shaken, is to admit that he is willing to be hoodwinked and live in a fool's paradise. We need never to be afraid to have the changeless eternal truth uncovered, and the greater measure of truth we comprehend, the more plainly do we see the happy goal toward which all things are tending. To fail to listen to intuition, which always associates our existence with a loving Father, is to limit our aspirations and happiness because of the gloomy philosophy deduced from physical facts alone. Likewise, to fail to listen to reason as to the existence of these facts also limits our aspirations and happiness because of the narrowing effect it has upon our outlook upon life, and the check it puts upon advancement and expansion in all directions due to the failure to believe as possible the development and attainments foreshadowed in the facts themselves when rightly interpreted as to cause and end. In regard to the physical form, science tells us that the evolution of our hermaphrodite ancestors result in the dual expression of the male and female human beings. This being true, we must, in the light of advancing knowledge, also concede a cleavage of the original soul capacity, which wrought the subsequent selection of the distinct masculine and feminine reproductive physical substance and forms by the respective masculine and feminine complementary elements and mind and soul. For if the physical forms of our early invertebrate ancestors and possibly the lowest vertebrate were hermaphrodite and the separation of the sexes took place through division of labor, the conclusion is unavoidable that when certain physical functions were apportioned for obtaining better results, the corresponding psychical elements must also at the same time have been selected from the total by both evolving individuals for performing their particular duties. This at least establishes the reasonableness of a theory which at first thought might seem wholly fanciful or unfounded. And it would seem in the case of the man and woman possessing parts of the same soul, that the power of recognition of each other had been placed so deep within that they are obliged to learn the lessons of life which develop their spiritual senses, and to seek the spirit within themselves before they can regain this power of recognition, which was wholly lost to them while living in either the physical or mental state of consciousness. Before they are sufficiently developed spiritually, they must have a genuine unselfish love for all humanity, a love that seeks to serve at every opportunity, and before they can know without doubt or misgiving the complement of their own souls, the dross of all impurity of thought must have been purged away to such an extent that God can be recognized as all and all as God. Yeah, this chapter is redeeming the other two. It should be remembered that the principle of sex means more than physical sex organs and passion. The underlying reality which finds ultimate expression in the physical bodies of individuals is the principle of the positive and negative forces of the universal life energy, which has brought all organized forms into existence from the compounds of mineral atoms to man. This same upward drawing power, which works through every individual life, causing it to evolve from lower to higher physically, mentally, and spiritually, is in the language of the scripture, the Christos, literally, the anointed. Hence, one chosen for a special service. After creating and perfecting physical forms of life, its service now is to establish the universal consciousness that God is one, that the universal substance is a manifestation of the absolute as truly as is the spirit which pervades it, that certain elements of the substance vibrating at a rate sufficiently slow to be perceivable to the physical senses, or what we speak of as physical matter, is also God, and that every natural function of our physical bodies was made to be perfected until God can be glorified through it. This is the power which has inspired the spiritual leaders and seers of all ages and nations, which was personified by David and was incarnate in the man Jesus. If it is this principle which was manifested in greater measure in Jesus than in any other, instead of the man Jesus himself, that we should bear in mind to read understandingly either the Old or New Testament. We know that Jesus did not refer to his own personality when he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Again, he says plainly, he that believeth on me believeth not on me, but on him that sent me. John 12:44. This meaning of the creative life principle or Christos is made plain in Micah 5:2. But thou, Bethlehem Ephrat, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet all of thee shall be come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have me from old, from everlasting. The creative energy operates through all our talents and capabilities and capacities, but its stronghold is transforming the matter of which our bodies are composed, and for purifying our minds from misconceptions of the truth in regard to all of God's universe is the sex power in its twofold physical and spiritual significance, enabling us at length to see that all is God. All is God. All is the source of all that is. The all that is God in our human labels. Getting a little excited there. The working of the Christos through the sex centers on the substance which constitutes our material bodies is the fire of the Lord, so often mentioned in the Bible. This is the import of John's statement that Christ would baptize with the Holy Ghost and with fire. Fire. That is with which such power of spiritual discernment as enables one to see the Father in all his works, even in this effort upon our physical bodies, which it becomes very evident upon study, means a combination of electrical and spiritual power so closely united as to be inseparable. Our attention is first called to this fact by the allegorical account of Moses's face shining when he comes down from the mount, and many references to thunder and lightning among the mount, which holy mountain also refers to the place of the sanctuary. This evidence of the presence of electricity is supplemented by the record of Ezekiel's vision in the first chapter of Ezekiel. To better understand the strange imagery of this chapter, which is a setting forth of the most sacred and profound truths of God's creation, let us note first the meaning of some of the symbols employed as they are commonly used throughout the Bible. Pure spirit is represented by light, the color white, and wind. The action of spirit on matter is represented by fire. Ezekiel mentions the fact that the whirlwind came out of the north. This is significant because the names of the four directions have weighty meanings in symbolical language, as do the signs of the zodiac as anciently associated with familiar facts of life. The north, which is associated with the sign of the bull or ox, champions the working out of spiritual conceptions in matter, hence the bodily union of man and woman. Without the quality symbolized by this sign, we should be impractical, incapable of accomplishing things in the material world. It is its lower aspect separated from its spiritual reality, for this alone is what constitutes the lower aspect of any capacity of mind or body. It genders anger, strife, and lust, uplifted through spiritual discernment. It begets strength and pure, ardent love and becomes the chief avenue for the action of the Christos on the substance of our bodies, the means of their further evolution toward refinement, rarefication, and eternal existence through transformation. The East associated with Scorpio and the eagle, which means Scorpio uplifted, champions the soul union of man and woman in a love by which they are made of one through the Christ consciousness, whereby the sex force is discovered to be what it is in its spiritual reality and thus becomes uplifted. The South, associated with the man or an angel, champions the kindly, passionless mother love that enfolds all the world in its yearning sympathy. The West, associated with the lion, champions integrity, uprightness, and high purpose, with a suggestion of severity in its devotion to duty. From an abnormal development of these qualities by themselves, we should get narrow-mindedness, religious intolerance, etc., but rightly balanced are summed up in purity and moral courage. Now the qualities of no one of these signs are sufficient of themselves. The Creator did not intend it to be so, and the reign of the kings mentioned by Daniel, which come forth in solitary power from any of these directions, is characterized by evil. It requires the blending of all four into one for the desired resultant, the high spiritual understanding that puts the proper value upon matter, sees it as worthy servant, the medium for the expression of life of the spirit, and by this understanding and use of it, transforms and spiritualizes matter itself. Returning again to the first appearance of the vision, our attention is called to the action of spirit on matter by the presence of the whirlwind and the fire. The significance of whirlwinds coming from the north has been explained. From the description of the living creatures, we see verse 7 that their feet resembled calves' feet, in significance those of the ox, and that they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. By verse 10, we learn that they all had four faces, powers of recognition, the face of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. It would take us too far afield to speak here of every minute detail mentioned, which is interpreting symbols must not be overlooked. But as an example, notice the position of those four faces. The faces of the man and the lion were on the right side, and the face of the ox on the left side. He does not definitely locate the face of the eagle. This is also significant, as we shall presently see. How odd they must have looked. Their delineation would rival a specimen of futuristic art, but it must be borne in mind that the living creatures were just an assemblage of symbolical entities to indicate the qualities necessary to produce the Superman, who will be aware of and able to appropriate his inherent power of endless life. Can't get rid of this. I'm working on it. We have already called attention to the meaning and position of the four faces, but what is the force of the fact that these faces of man and the lion were on the right side? The right side symbolizes the initiative power of pure spirit, while the left represents the stabilizing power of matter, which together show forth the complete being of God, the Absolute, who manifests as both spirit and matter as we ordinarily use the terms, in the proper union of spirit and matter. Notice that the qualities of the man and the lion are those of the soul and spirit only, while those of the ox have to do with matter. Hence, that face is on the left side. It is of singular interest that he does not tell us where the face of the eagle is. It would not be consistent for it to be on either the exact right or left. For while the capacity symbolized by the eagle has to do with matter in the sense of discovering its rightful place and shifting it up, it is a quality of soul or spirit that it is above and independent of matter in the inactive action. To go back a little, why was the preference given to the ox, that there should be both a face and feet of this type? Because among divine realities of existence, which are focused in and expressed through the physical body of man, the feet represent the understanding and the sense of a correct mental comprehension, the hearing representing spiritual perception. This explains the meaning of Jesus' act in washing the disciples' feet, cleansing the understanding. And before man can become anything more than he is now, it is necessary to have a better understanding in regard to the qualities indicated by the sign of the ox, which have been stated in connection with the meaning of the directions, as we already possess a clearer understanding of the value. Sorry, guys. Of the capabilities indicated by the other signs than we have had of this. The fact that they were the feet of a young animal shows that it was the most recently acquired knowledge, or the least necessary to begin the perfecting a man. The significance of the fact that they sparkled like burnished brass. Sorry, guys, my mouse just went freaked out and I have glitchies. Let me figure this out. Okay. I didn't do anything bad. Just crazy stuff going on with my computers. The significance of the fact that they sparkled like burnished brass is in the particular kind of metal mentioned. The language of symbolism is marvelously concise and expressive, and we may look for special meanings in seemingly trivial details. Why were the feet of brass instead of gold or silver, for instance? In the analysis of the facts in regard to this point, we find, again, reference to electricity. For brass, as we know, is an alloy of copper and zinc, the metals used to generate electricity in a simple cell. Bear in mind that the knowledge possessed by certain of the ancients concerning the hidden forces of laws of nature will afford work of investigation for modern science for some time to come. The brass feet, therefore, indicate that it is necessary that we understand the scientific and physiological purpose and explanation of the law of physical union championed by the ox, and that its nature and possibilities are electrical. Coming to verses 13 and 14, we again find this repeated mention of lightning, further emphasizing the presence of electricity in connection with this fire of the Lord. The truth that furnishes the key to the higher evolution of the race is contained in verses 16 through 21 of this chapter and in verses 9 through 17 of the 10th chapter, referring to the movements of the living creatures. In the 10th chapter, Ezekiel relates having seen the same vision as the one described, with the exception that the face of the cherub was seen instead of the face of the ox. He takes particular care to tell us that it is identically the same living creature and present of the cherub, equivalent to the cherubim, is wholly consistent. Please read both chapters carefully. In regard to the figure of the wheel, so often referred to, this word wheel is translated elsewhere in the margin as whirling dust. Here again, we find the same idea as expressed by the whirlwind and the fire, mentioned in the 4th verse of the 1st chapter, the action of spirit symbolized by the wind on matter, for he tells us the appearance of the wheel was like unto the color of beryl, that now a beryl may be either green or yellow, but evidently the yellow flame-colored beryl is meant here. Now look at the 13th verse of the 10th chapter. As the wheels, it was cried upon them in my hearing, O wheel. For the wheel to be thus addressed suggests the presence of a living intelligence, indicating that the very spirit of life itself is inseparably connected with this action of the spirit on matter, which is apparently just what the prophet is trying to impress upon us when he recounts in as so many ways the movements of the creatures. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. When those went, these went. When those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. Ezekiel. So guys, I'm going to make this parts because this goes on for quite a long time. And I don't want to burn out my voice. It's back, but it's coming in and out. And for this being a very long, I don't want to keep overkill. So I'm going to leave it here. Next time we'll do part 2 of this chapter. I'm actually going to write it down so I don't get lost. So now I have a note, just like the secret doctrine, where to pick up. As I'm getting back to my best, my voice is still in and out. I feel it again, so I'm gonna try to compile things, but definitely part 2 will be incoming. I will be live tomorrow for Craft and Sip. I have no idea what I'm doing just yet. But I'll be live tomorrow around 5:30 Central. Depends what time I get home. I got home pretty late today. So if you would like to join me tomorrow in the chat and hang out and have fun and relax, sip, make things, that would be awesome. Also, I will have the information for the raffle for Friday the 7th of February. So check out all that fun stuff. I will be having a TikTok clips video incoming. Quantum AI and metaphysical video incoming. There's a lot of good stuff hanging out in the ether right now, and I'm just trying to get back on the horse. So thank you all for your understanding. When you lose your voice, it's not fun, and I did what I could during the last live. So guys, sending each and every one of you love, light, compassion, grace, shielding, and protective energy. Please go within, be the shoulder, be the lighthouse, see your truths. And I hope to see you all in the next one. Thank you for your support, your help, your guidance, your love, and your high vibes. Until the next one, guys, thank you for watching. Bye for now.